Am I the a-hole for telling my husband I'll use my maiden name for our baby if he misses the birth? So I'm 37 weeks pregnant. Due to several health complications during my pregnancy, I've been told multiple times by multiple doctors that I might have to give birth next week as opposed to 2 weeks from now. Furthermore, that I may actually go into labor this weekend or any time leading up to it. Due to these same health complications, I'm having a C-section and my doctors do not want me laboring. So should I go into labor, they're most likely pushing me through as an emergency C-section. My husband knows all of this. However, he is holding on to the 2% chance they gave him that the baby could last the 2 weeks. His sister is also pregnant, 4 weeks behind me, and her baby shower is this weekend. It'll be over an hour away and that's without traffic. So weeks ago I declined for both of us because it didn't seem like a good idea. Well, despite having a long conversation in the shower, 2 days away, has come up again. It turned into a fight as there are multiple reasons that, should I go into labor, it's just a bad situation for him to be that far away. I would list them all, but character limit. Husband wants to go and support his sister and see his family, and says I'm keeping him on a short leash for something that probably isn't going to happen. I told him maybe he's right and nothing happens, but said should he choose to go and choose to take that risk, that should I go into labor, he would most likely miss the birth or be extremely late. And if he makes that choice, then I would give the baby my last name, my maiden name, versus the family name. Husband said I was an a-hole for keeping him hostage and I'm always planning for worst cases, and that my thoughts are going to trigger labor more than anything. I said if he chooses to not be a part of this, should I go into labor, why should the baby bear his name when he would fail on his duty as a father? He has been silent and moody since, only talking when absolutely necessary and saying that I'm trying to take everything from him. So am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. I have had several emergency C-sections. Let me state this loud and clear for everyone not understanding. OP won't get to active labor. It won't be 12 plus hours. The minute she shows any sign of labor, they will immediately go into surgery. An hour will not be enough time to get to the hospital, get scrubbed in, and be there for delivery. In fact, dad will be the lowest rung on the ladder, and if he's not there when mama is wheeled in, he won't be taken in. This is not a simple birth. This is a major operation with risks to mother and child. There's no time for waiting for dad. There's no allowance for him being late. They will not care about him. So yes, he's 100% the a-hole if he goes an hour away from OP and a child that will arrive at literally any time. The fact that he is unbothered by the fact that she would have to go through any part of that process alone is terrible. Dude sounds like he is in straight denial about how precarious his wife's situation is. Even if everything goes perfectly, a C-section is a major surgery. And OP needs someone by her side that she can trust to advocate for her while she's too incapacitated to speak for herself. And his failure to be that person for her will put a lasting dent in their marriage. He either doesn't understand how important this is or doesn't care. This guy treats this like OP's holding him hostage, when in fact, she only wants him to be there for the birth of their child. And for what? A baby shower? That would be the last thing on my mind in that kind of situation. Not the a-hole. Now an update from the OP. Okay, so this blew up. I'm trying to get through everything. I hear y'all on the red flags, and also the feedback on my own behavior in this. Update. Had a long doctor's appointment. Husband will not be going to the shower, as not only has it been confirmed that I have to deliver next week, but I have also been put on bed rest, so that made the decision for him. He did apologize. We had to have a long conversation. His mom was pressuring a ton on this and guilt-tripping him, primarily about going down to the shower to see his grandma, who is very old and it's constantly a question as to how long she has. But we had a long conversation to which it became clear we need to be LC with mother-in-law. For the time being. She has been starting other drama lately, and this was my breaking point. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my dad's girlfriend his mistress? My mom died of brain aneurysm 2 years ago. She was 39 at the time. She and dad, Ben, 42 male, were no longer together before she died because dad had an affair with his work colleague, Amanda, 37 female. They were getting a divorce, but mom died before it was finalized. I was 18 when mom died, and to be honest, I resented my dad because of the heartache he caused my mother, and I blamed him for her death. After mom's funeral, I refused to talk to him until recently he contacted me, and we started to reconnect. He and Amanda are still together, and I started to accept their relationship because I saw how happy my father is with her. Last month, Dad informed me that he and Amanda had gotten engaged, and he wanted to let me know before he shares the news to everyone. I told him I'm happy for them. Last week they had an engagement party where they invited some of our relatives and friends. During the toast, Dad said something like, "I just can't wait to marry the perfect woman. I thank God for giving me the love of my life after all those years that I wasted with someone else." I walked out of the room after hearing what my father said. He basically considered his marriage to my late mother a waste of time. It broke my heart, and I wanted to leave right away, but Dad's friend, my godfather, and Amanda followed me. Amanda said that Dad wants me to give a message, but I told her I can't do that and I need to go as I feel sick. My godfather tried to convince me to stay and say a few words. I got tired of holding my anger in, and I just said, "I have no good words to say about my cheating father and his mistress. I need to go." Amanda got angry with me and called me an a-hole, and I need to get over the past. I didn't even say anything and just left them behind. I was with my boyfriend who picked me up when Dad called me, and he was furious with me. Apparently what I said made Amanda cry, and he's now demanding an apology. He also accused me of ruining his engagement party. I told him I could have made a scene, but I didn't, and there is no way I'm apologizing for stating facts. Am I the a-hole? Did I overreact and ruin their party? My boyfriend said he understands how I feel, but my grandparents, Dad's side, are disappointed with me for overreacting and calling Amanda a mistress. Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. What he said was disgusting. You didn't ruin it. You tried to walk away and people tried to stop you. Fuck them. I'm so sorry you had to witness that. Thank you. And I didn't draw attention to myself. I just left discreetly. You should have gone back in and made a toast. To my cheating father and his mistress. I hope life treats you as good as you have treated others. Now your waste of time child is going home. Your father stood up and announced to a room of people that his first marriage, and by extension, you, a product of that marriage, was a waste of time. Where is his apology for you? Not the a-hole. Yes, this. Repeat, tell your grandparents and father this, through your godfather if necessary. Your dad has made a series of poor judgment calls in his relationship with you. You have every right to be hurt and angry. If you decide to patch things up with him, you can set boundaries. One is that he never desecrates your mother's memory again. Dad, I wouldn't have done that and was prepared to give a nice speech until I heard you say you wasted your time with mom, which means having me was a waste too. That's your truth and you own it now. You did cheat, and she was your mistress. I was truthful too. Rinse and repeat for grandma and grandpa. Not the a-hole. He said out loud that he wasted his life with your dead mother, that he cheated on? Oh my goodness. Somebody owes somebody an apology and it's not OP. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for mocking my nephew and ganging up on him for asking whether me or my husband was the woman? My family, my folks, my brother and his family, my sister and her family, me and my husband, had our first get-together since the thing started on the weekend. We're all vaccinated now. During which I discovered my formerly adorably precocious kid of a nephew has hit his edgy teen stage with gusto. He had an attitude all afternoon, which culminated in him asking me and my husband, gay couple, which of us was the woman. I was pretty taken aback and just said, neither of us. We're both men. That's the point. At which point he came up with some Evo psych BS about how male always seeks female, and therefore even with two guys, one will always be the more feminine or something. The thing is, I know he knows better, and his whole attitude was blatantly just trying to get a rise. I didn't feel like ruining a nice afternoon by giving it to him, so instead I decided to make a joke of it and told him seriously that no one had told us that. And in that case, we'd better figure it out as soon as possible. My husband grabbed a notepad, drew columns for each other, and we started noting down our various feminine and masculine aspects. Deliberately absurd stuff like I wear more pink, but he cries easier. He's much better at sports, but I've got him beat in survival skills, etc. At some point, the other adults, minus my folks, drifted over to see what we were doing. My brother immediately wanted to join in, saying he'd never been sure in their case either, so he and his wife started their own list. And my sister and her husband, parents of nephew, followed suit. It was honestly pretty funny. We made up a point system and debated the gendering of breakfast foods. My nephew got more and more sulky. We kept asking for his verdicts, until finally he walked away in disgust and ended up hardly saying a word for the rest of the afternoon. At the time, I thought it was a harmless and amusing way of making a point about the stupidity of his argument without giving him the satisfaction of the "you're too sensitive" rise he was obviously looking for. But earlier today, his brother, 19, he was not at the get-together, saying my nephew was really upset and accusing us of being a bunch of adults ganging up on a child, and of drawing his own parents into it. I honestly hadn't thought of it in that light. And now that I do, I must admit it's not a great look. I still think he's old enough not to be catered to when he acts like this, though. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. He was being a brat. He knew it. He dished it and couldn't take it. Said loosely because you didn't even really dish it back. You joked on yourselves, not him. I think it was a great way to make the point of how ridiculous that statement was. Not the a-hole. Also, you didn't gang up on him. You mocked his homophobia and gender essentialism and got other people to join in and question their own prejudices. It might be there's a learning experience here for the young man? Edit. This could be a solid exercise in the right context. What actions or behaviors are masculine or feminine, and why do you think that? I'm so sick of people saying they're being bullied, attacked, or ganged up on, when they're actually just being called out for their shit. Not the a-hole. This was honestly a wonderful and generous way to respond to your nephew's bigotry. Because even if they are a teen, saying one person of a same-sex couple has to be the woman is definitely bigotry. Your choice to engage with humor addressed the issue, but without escalation or ruining the family visit. Honestly, it sounds like your nephew would have been sulky and upset, even if you had responded in any other way other than affirming his misguided views. As a teenager, he is old enough to learn that if he dishes out bigoted statements, he needs to be prepared for pushback. Your form of pushback was incredibly gentle, and he should be grateful for that. Next story. Am I the a-hole? Are we the a-holes because we didn't want my husband's kids with us? This is a long story. My 35 male husband, 37 male, married to a woman when he was in his early 20s. Mostly because his conservative family expected him to do so, and at the time he thought he would never come out of the closet. Nevertheless, 4 years later, when she was pregnant with their second child, eldest daughter was barely 3, he couldn't take it anymore and told her his real orientation. The scandal was big. He was shunned from both families and had to literally escape to a city on the other side of the country. My city, by the way. My husband spent years trying to keep contact with his ex, trying to be involved with the kids and pay child support. But her hate, which I find understandable, was so big that she didn't want anything to do with him, and she didn't want the kids to even know him. We had been together for some months when he got a mail from a lawyer that actually asked for him to surrender his parental rights so that his ex's new husband could adopt the kids. He is not good with confrontation, and by this point he had already accepted that he had lost his kids. So he signed the papers. This was 7 years ago. Since then, we have made our own life. And honestly, it's a very good one. We both have good paying jobs we like. We have a lot of free time. We travel around the world. We have 3 beautiful dogs, a good apartment. Call it the trauma, but he doesn't want kids, and nor do I. And here is the problem. Recently, both his ex and her husband died. Not really sure what happened. And her sister, the aunt of the kids, got the custody. She doesn't want them, and it seems no one in the family does. Nor his ex's, nor his own, not the one of the new husband. According to my husband, it's not out of malice, but because they don't have money and they have their own kids to attend to. So the aunt wanted to return the kids to their biological dad. We contacted our lawyer to put it simply, we can refuse. There is no legal obligation, and while my husband could use his bio status to recover the parental rights, there is no way they can force him to do it. We sent our answer and the storm came upon us. Online bullying, hateful phone calls and messages, all from the kid's family. The main idea is that he is a deadbeat and horrible human being for leaving his children, especially when we have all the resources to do so. On our side, well, it's sad that they're now orphans, but we are speaking about a 10 female that doesn't remember his face and a 7 male that never met him, both going through a very difficult loss and in no way fit for moving to a new city far away from everything they know. Even if we wanted kids and were willing to entirely change our lifestyle for them, they are the worst option I can imagine. We are both on the same page here, but the constant attacks that we have managed to partially stop has made our mind uneasy. So that's why we came here to ask if we are really being the a-holes in all of this. Now the top comments. You're the a-hole. Not really you as much as your husband. I can't imagine how hard it was to pretend to be someone he was not while he was still in the closet. My heart goes out for that. But he was still a sovereign person who chose to live a closeted life and chose to have children. I cannot stress this enough. The children did not abandon him. His ex-wife should never have refused to let him see them. But it's difficult to get full custody with no visitation rights without proof of abuse or something of the like. I wouldn't make assumptions and fail towards your husband, believing it's best for the children at the time to not be caught in the middle of their parents' animosity. But now the children need him, and they are his. He is the a-hole. Period. If bringing them into your life would be too difficult, and the two of you wouldn't believe you'll be able to provide them a loving home, I'll understand that. But the very least he can do is offer financial support to the aunt, who would take them where she's able to and get to know them. On our side, well, it's sad that they're now orphans, but we are speaking about a 10 female that doesn't remember his face and a 7 male that never met him, both going through a very difficult loss and in no way fit for moving to a new city far away from everything they know. This is the worst part to me. Just say you don't want to mess up the life you've cultivated for yourselves. You aren't doing the children any favors by lending them no support and casting them into the extreme uncertainty that is likely group homes and the foster care system. Everyone stinks except for those poor children. Your husband stinks for marrying someone and fathering children under false pretenses and then walking away from his kids. He should have fought to stay in their lives from the beginning. His ex stinks for vindictively cutting him out of the kids' lives. All the families stink for abandoning 2 kids whose whole world had been turned upside down. You for describing 2 kids that lost everything as the worst option I can imagine for having children. I hope those kids find someone who gives a damn about them. I'm not even getting into this situation. This needs more than Reddit advice. Good luck in whatever you choose.